Hello and welcome to our podcast about artificial intelligence. Today we'll be discussing how AI is changing the world around us.
That's right.
You're tuning in because, well, AI is a big deal. It's evolving incredibly fast, and you want to cut through the noise, understand its real impact. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into a really fascinating and maybe a little unsettling area, the intersection of AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah, specifically, we're looking at a brand new type of malware. It's cleverly taking advantage of all the buzz around AI tools right now.
Okay, so we've been looking at some key findings, right, from a top cybersecurity platform and also from MorphoSec's threat labs.
Exactly. They've uncovered this new info stealer. They're calling it Noodlophile, and, well, the way it's spreading is pretty ingenious.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So our goal today really is to understand how these cyber criminals are using all the excitement around AI to trick you, basically, into downloading this Noodlophile malware. And more importantly, what does this actually mean for us? How can we stay safe online? It sounds like they're preying on people just wanting to try the latest thing.
Precisely. And what's really interesting here is how they're tapping into that enthusiasm. It's not just like generic spam anymore.
Yeah.
No, they're creating these very convincing fake platforms. They look like real AI tools, focusing mainly on video and image editing, which, are super popular.
That makes total sense. Everyone's curious about AI editing.
Yeah.
And I saw these aren't just random pop-ups.
Yeah.
Right? They're being advertised where?
Through what look like legitimate Facebook groups. And these campaigns, they're spreading fast on social media, too. It's a smart, though definitely malicious approach.
Yeah, smart and scary.
Yeah.
And the scale is pretty big.
Oh, yeah. The reports say single posts are getting over 62,000 views. That just shows the huge interest in AI tools and, well, the sheer number of potential targets.
Wow.
We even have names of some of these fake pages. Luma Dream Machine Owl, Luma Dream Machine, even one in Spanish, Gratis tus libros.
Those sound pretty plausible, especially if you're looking for them. And they offer exactly what people want, right?
Yeah.
AI for videos, logos, images, websites even.
They do. They're casting a wide net. One really good example is a fake site pretending to be CapCut AI.
Oh, CapCut's popular.
Very. And this fake site advertises itself as an all-in-one video editor with new AI features. It looks almost identical. Very easy to trick you.
Okay, so you see the ad, you click, you think, great, new AI tool. What happens next? This is where it gets nasty, I assume.
This is the payload delivery part. You land on the fake site, maybe upload a photo or video you want the AI to process.
Right.
And then instead of getting your edited file back, you're prompted to download what you think is your result.
But it's not. It's definitely not the AI video.
Exactly. What you actually download is a malicious ZIP archive, often named something plausible like videodreamai.zip. That ZIP file is stage 1 of the infection.
Okay, a ZIP file, what's lurking inside that?
Usually there's a file named something like videodreammachineai.mp4.exe. See that, .mp4.
Yeah, it looks like a video file. Oh, but .exe? That's an executable.
Precisely. It's a trick. It's a program. And often there's also a hidden folder, maybe named something like 5.0.1886, containing other bits and pieces.
So you double-click the .exe, thinking it's your video, and boom. How does that file kick things off?
It's quite clever, actually. It starts by launching a legitimate piece of software, like the real CapCut.exe, if that's what they're impersonating.
Oh, sneaky. So it looks like it's working normally.
Right. It creates this illusion that something legit is happening, masking the bad stuff going on in the background, without you realizing it.
Okay, so while the real CapCut might be opening up, what else is happening silently on my system?
Well, that deceptive .exe then triggers another component, a .NET-based loader, usually called something like CapCut loader.
A loader. So this job is to load something else.
Exactly. This loader reaches out to a remote server, one controlled by the attackers, and downloads another piece of malware this time, a Python script, often named srcoast.exe.
Okay, let me get this straight. Fake site, -zip file, -deceptive.exe real program, launches -loader runs.
Yeah.
Downloads a Python script. Wow. It's like Russian dolls of malware.
It is, yeah. Multi-stage infection chain. And that Python script, srcoast.exe, that's what finally deploys the main payload, the Noodlophile stealer.
Right, Noodlophile. And once that's running,
Yeah.
what's it after? What kind of information does it steal from you?
Noodlophile is built to harvest sensitive data. We're talking browser credentials, usernames, passwords you've saved.
Oh, no.
Also cryptocurrency wallet information, if you have any, and just other personal data stored on the machine.
That's bad. Really bad. But I think I read it can get even worse sometimes, bundled with other things.
Yes, in some cases, the attackers have packaged Noodlophile together with a RAT, a remote access Trojan, something like XWorm.
A CAR-T, what does that do?
It gives the attacker much deeper control over your compromised computer. They can potentially monitor your activity, control the machine remotely, install more malware. It's full access, essentially.
So not just stealing data, but potentially watching everything you do. Yeah, that's a big escalation. And Noodlophile itself is new, undocumented before this.
That's right. It's newly identified, hasn't shown up in public reports before this campaign. That makes it potentially more dangerous initially, as security tools might not have specific signatures for it yet.
Okay. And how does it send the stolen data back to the attackers?
It uses a Telegram bot, interestingly, sends the exfiltrated information via Telegram, which gives the attackers a relatively anonymous and encrypted channel to receive the loot.
Using Telegram dot. Clever. Okay, let's shift gears. Who's behind this? Any clues about the developer?
Well, the researchers think the developer is likely Vietnamese.
Based on what?
Based on info from a GitHub profile linked to the malware and some language indicators in the code or surrounding comms.
And what did the GitHub profile say? Anything specific?
Actually, yeah. The profile apparently described the person as a passionate malware developer from Vietnam.
Wow, quite bold.
Yeah.
Passionate malware developer.
And the account was created fairly recently, March 16th, 2025.
Okay. And is this kind of activity common in that region?
Well, Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, does have a history with stealer malware distribution, especially targeting things like Facebook accounts. So this campaign sort of fits into a known, unfortunately, historical pattern.
It's unsettling how fast they adapt to exploit current trends. And this isn't the first time AI hype has been used as bait, is it?
No, definitely not. The reports remind us that back in 2023, Meta had to take down loads of malicious URLs that were using ChatGPT's name and brand to lure people into downloading malware.
Right, I remember hearing about that.
So yeah, using popular AI tools as a hook. It's a tactic we've seen before and will likely see again.
It seems like any big tech trend becomes a playground for these guys. The article also mentioned another stealer, Pumpkin Stealer.
Yes, Pumpkin Stealer. Discovered around the same time by CY Firma. It's also .NET based, different technically from Noodlophile, but with a similar goal: steal data from Windows systems. And interestingly, it also uses a Telegram bot to send the stolen data back.
So maybe a growing trend there with these info stealers using Telegram.
It seems plausible, yeah.
Okay, let's really get into the nitty-gritty now. The technical components. Starting with that first file, the Video Dream Machine AI.mp4.exe. What more can you tell us?
Okay, so it's a 32-bit C++ application. It's digitally signed, interestingly, using a certificate created via a tool called Winoth. That signature can make it seem more trustworthy, potentially bypass basic checks.
Even though it's malicious?
Exactly. And despite the .mp4 in the name, it's actually a repurposed, legitimate version of the CapCut video editor, version 4.4.5.0 specifically.
So they didn't inject code into CapCut. They're just using a real version as part of the chain.
Correct. Its main job here isn't editing video. It's to find and run the next stage, the real CapCut.exe, which is hidden in that version-like folder we mentioned.
Oh, okay.
This structure helps ensure only their intended malicious bits run. The report also notes it has other capabilities built in that weren't used here, suggesting maybe potential for future variations.
Good to know. Okay, so next, the real CapCut.exe gets launched. What's its role?
This legitimate CapCut executable essentially acts as a container, a C++ wrapper. Its main purpose in this attack chain is to execute the malicious .NET payload that's embedded right inside it.
So the bad code isn't a separate file at this point.
Exactly. They've compiled their malicious .NET code directly into this legitimate application using something called the .NET Runtime Hosting API. This makes it harder for security tools to spot the malicious code and, harder for analysts to reverse engineer.
Hiding in plain sight, sort of.
Yeah.
Inside a legitimate program. Clever. And it's a big file, right?
Yeah, unusually big, around 140 megabytes. That size can help it blend in, maybe evade some simpler scanning methods, and it contains a lot of embedded PE files and the basic building blocks of Windows programs, like 275 of them.
Whoa.
Yeah, the sheer number, plus the way they're structured, kind of modular and obfuscated, it's clearly meant to make analysis much harder.
Okay, and what's the very first thing this modified CapCut does when it runs?
It launches that internal .NET component, the CapCut loader, and its first action is to check for internet connectivity. It tries to ping google.com up to 10 times.
It makes sense. It needs to phone home.
Right. If it can't get online, it just stops. assuming it needs the connection to download the next stage.
Okay. And if it can connect,
Yeah,
then it starts renaming files.
exactly. CapCut Loader imports a function, cryptically named ubogam, from a library file called aicore.dll. Then, using this function, it renames document.docs to install.bat and another file named meta to image.ecus. These renames are critical for what comes next.
All right, let's talk about aicore.dll. Sounds like a helper piece.
That's right. It's a DLL, a library of code. Its main job here is just to help execute system commands. It actually contains loads of functions, but most seem empty or unused in this campaign, possibly just obfuscation, padding.
More noise to confuse analysts?
Probably.
Yeah.
The key function used is called cmd helper, and its job is simply to launch that renamed batch file install.bat.
So aicore.dll is the trigger for install.bat. Now, document.docs, the fake Word doc that becomes install.bat. What does it do?
Well, it's not a Word doc at all. It's a bash script, a list of commands. It's even encoded, strangely, FFFE bow marker,
Yeah.
to look like nonsense in a text editor, another hiding tactic.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Once it's installed.bat, it becomes the orchestrator. Its main goals are downloading the next payload stage, extracting a password-protected archive, setting up persistence so the malware restarts with Windows, and then cleaning up its tracks.
That's a busy script. Can you walk us through the key steps?
Sure. It starts by setting up a temporary working folder. Then it defines a block of Python code designed to fetch another script from the attacker's server. It launches a hidden PowerShell process.
Hidden so you don't see a window pop up.
Correct. Then, crucially, it uses a legitimate Windows tool, searchutil.exe, to decode a file named document.pdf. Now, this document.pdf isn't a PDF.
Let me guess, it's something else disguised.
You got it. It's a base 64 encoded RRR archive, password protected. The script uses that renamed image.exe, which is actually the WinRRR utility, along with a hard-coded password, to silently extract this archive.
Keep going.
Then it adds an entry to the Windows registry for persistence, making sure the malware runs on startup. It executes the downloaded Python payload, srcoast.exe, and finally it tries to delete the temporary files it created. Tidy up.
Wow. That's a complex chain reaction just from clicking one fake executable.
Yeah.
And document.pdf, the fake PDF, what's actually in that password-protected RR archive.
Inside is the entire SPIFON environment. Basically, everything needed the Python interpreter, libraries, to run the final Python malware payloads. The password, by the way, is Tongue Ducking Developer 2025.
Okay, and using Certitil and WinRAR, those are legitimate tools already on most Windows systems, right?
Exactly. That's living off the land. Using built-in tools for malicious purposes helps avoid detection.
And Meta, renamed to image.exe, is just the WinRAR tool itself.
Correct. Just use silently in the background to unpack that archive.
Okay, one last piece before the final payloads. randomuser2025.txt, the file downloaded from the server, what's its deal?
It is a Python script, but heavily obfuscated, made intentionally hard to read. It uses techniques for in-memory execution, meaning it contains encoded, compressed data. When the script runs, Python decodes and decompresses this data, loading the actual malware directly into the computer's RAM, its memory. It tries to avoid writing the unpacked malware to the hard drive, making detection harder for some security tools.
Like unpacking a suitcase directly into the computer's brain, skipping the closet. How do they make it hard to analyze?
Several layers: base 85 decoding, zlib compression, Python's Marshall module. But the really interesting bit is what the report calls non-semantic bulk obfuscation.
Meaningless junk code.
Essentially, yeah. They added about 10,000 lines of repeated non-functional Python code, specifically one itereo right at the start. This code never runs, but it's enough to crash or stall many automated analysis tools trying to parse it.
Huh. That's actively fighting back against the security tools. Clever. So after all that decoding and bypassing the junk code, what are the final payloads loaded into memory?
The researchers deobfuscated it and found two main payloads. First, as we suspected, a variant of Noodlophile, the info stealer.
Okay. And the second?
The second is another Python-based piece, but this one is a loader with worm-like capabilities, identified as Worm 5.2 or X11 client. It can potentially spread.
A worm, so it steals and tries to spread itself to other computers.
That's the potential, yes. This XWorm loader part has at least two ways to execute its code. One uses donut shellcode injection. The other is PE hollowing, targeting a legitimate Windows program, regasm.exe.
And why two methods?
Well, interestingly, the second method, targeting regasm.exe, seems to be used specifically if it detects a vast antivirus on the system.
So they're actively trying to evade specific security products.
Looks like it. Yeah.
This is incredibly complex. Multi-stage, using legitimate tools, obfuscation, anti-analysis tricks, specific AV evasion. It really shows how sophisticated these attacks are getting.
Absolutely. And how they're leveraging current trends like AI as the initial hook.
Now, Morphisec, in their report, mentioned their specific technology. How does it help against something like this?
Right. They talked about their automated moving target defense, or AMTD. The idea is it proactively changes the attack surface, the parts of the system malware usually targets, making it unpredictable.
So instead of recognizing the malware signature,
Exactly. Instead of relying on detecting known signatures or analyzing behavior after something suspicious happens, AMTD tries to make the system inherently harder to exploit in the first place. It disrupts the attack chain early on because the malware can't find the static things it expects to find.
a proactive defense, makes sense against these novel threats that might bypass traditional detection. Okay, lastly, for listeners who want to be extra careful, any key indicators of compromise, IOCs, they should know.
Yeah, the reports list several. There are specific command and control URLs, the web addresses the malware talks to,
Got it.
the Telegram bot tokens and chat IDs used for sending the stolen data, and crucially, a list of SHA-256 hashes, think a digital fingerprints for all the key malicious files involved, the ZIP, the Python scripts, the WinRAR copy, etc. These hashes help security pros identify these specific threats.
This has been really eye-opening. A bit chilling, too, how AI excitement is being weaponized. It really just hammers home how careful you need to be online, right?
Yeah.
Especially with hyped-up new tech.
Absolutely. You have to question sources, be wary of downloads, especially if they seem too good to be true or come via channels like social media ads. As tech evolves, the threats evolve right alongside it. Staying informed is just critical.
Thank you for joining us on this episode about the future of artificial intelligence. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and learned something new. See you next time.